I am, and then we can kind of go through what we're going to do. So first off, my name is Luke. I am a tech recruiter, so I've worked as a tech recruiter for many years, which is how I actually come to know Mehmet. He was actually a previous candidate of mine a few years ago, and ultimately I specialize in kind of helping his more senior developers, engineering managers find new positions. Now, obviously, I'm sure Mehmet has filled you in, and I'm sure you've probably seen the Instagram live we did. Ultimately, I'm here to help all of his students pretty much find their next role. And in a way, I'm going to do that is going through your CV. So what I'll do today is go through your CV. You've probably seen that I've sent you an email with it back with some notes. And then going to ask some kind of standard interview questions and give you kind of some feedback on that. And then, yeah, any more questions or any way we can help in terms of looking for new roles. But yeah, I mean, first off, tell me a bit about yourself.
Ertuğrul. I graduated from Middle East Technical University, one of the most well-known universities in Turkey, environmental engineering department. Then I worked for 2 different public institutions for nearly 10 years. Then I worked for refugee crisis in Turkey as in different institutions, including United Nations World Food Program and Islamic Relief, which is a United Kingdom-based centered institution who is helping refugees in Turkey. For the last years, I learned. I started a front-end developer course, and now I'm trying to change my career path to this area.
Okay. Oh, fair enough. And it's always quite interesting when people do change their career path, which is super important when you are looking for a new role. So let's go through your CV first off. I will apologize first off. I am being quite overcritical in these CVs that I'm doing, and this is for your benefit, ultimately, because obviously the first point of call when you are applying for the job, the first thing people see is your CV. Your CV said something about you, and you know, ultimately that is the most important thing to get you the interview. Once you're in the interview, it's all down to you and your personality, and obviously your knowledge. But first off, looking at the CV, it's not great, and I'll tell you why. So it's quite a bland CV for within the development world. You know, with the whole kind of everything structured into lines, it just doesn't look nice to look at, which might sound like a ridiculous way of saying it, but if I was a hiring manager and other CVs I see, this would probably go to the bottom of the pile just because of the way it looks. There's no kind of, you know, you don't show any personality on there. It's very formal, and I know a CV should be formal, but you should also bring something out about you and make it look a bit nicer and easier to read. You know, looking at your LinkedIn probably looks nicer to read than your CV does at the moment. And then moving on from that, so that obviously you would need to change it in terms of that, just to make it look better, easier to read for hiring managers. You'd be surprised how little time hiring managers look at CVs, I would say. And with something like that, because it's all very compact, I mean, they probably won't look at it very long, no matter what your skill set is. Secondly, so you have a summary bit, but within that summary, it's kind of bullet points. Your summary, you shouldn't have that in bullet points. Make that into, you know, kind of put it all in one paragraph. So, you know, I'm a front-end developer that's skilled in these technologies. As you know, I have, as well as this, I have a passion for creating user-friendly and functional web applications. I am a highly motivated person. I'm very organized, able to work well both independently and part of the team. Also, I'm, you know, very committed to keeping up with the latest trends. And then after that, currently I am seeking full-time employment as a front-end React developer. So put in there exactly what you want to do, but get rid of the bullet points in that bit, because that needs to be kind of a summary of who you are, I would say. And then moving on, as you can probably see, I'll put notes on. Attention to detail is very key with this. And what I mean by this, so I obviously know English isn't your first language, so that's completely fine, right? And I'm not expecting you to be able to talk and read and write as well as I do when it's my first and only language, right?
Yes.
But with CVs, you need to make sure that everything is correct. In your main activities and responsibilities as a front-end developer, there is at least 7 spelling mistakes. And some of them are literally, I don't even think they're meant to be mistakes. You've just missed out a letter. So for example, the first line, bootstrap, there's an extra O. Website, you put D instead of T. Developer, you've missed out. I don't even know what you've missed out, to be fair, but it is wrong. You've got to do together when there needs to be a space there. Website, again, spelled with a D instead of a T. And methodologies, you missed out a H. So attention to detail is very key. And I know making CVs is boring, and it is quite difficult when you're talking about yourself and stuff. But things like that, especially when you want to get into coding, obviously, when you're coding, attention to detail is really key. If you make one mistake in your code, then that could effectively give you hours of headaches trying to work out what's going wrong. So if I was a hiring manager, and again, I am being very overly critical, but this is to help you as much as I can. So if I was a hiring manager, I would see the spelling mistakes in that and say, well, if he's got mistakes in his CV that he's sending out to people, how many mistakes is he going to make in his code? So everything you do, you need to just think of what the hiring manager would see. It's not a main issue. Just kind of look at it again. When on that email that I've sent with the actual file, you see the spelling mistakes in there because it's on Word. And then the other thing, so I thought I was going to pick on a lot more because the first kind of few bits there was a lot kind of needed attention, but so you've got UN World Food Programme. Let me just check your actual CV, the one that you sent me, because it looks, I don't know whether it's just because I've converted it, but it looks like it goes over to another page. Am I correct? I'm just checking this out for you now. Yeah, okay, so UN World Food Programme. Can you see that on your CV?
Yes.
Yeah. So the way you've got the name of the employer, dates, and then your title, and then it goes on to another page for the responsibilities and activities, that is messy. In a way, you don't want to have that gap. You want that to be on the same page, just again to make it an easier read. Hiring managers, you can imagine, especially with junior roles, they're getting 200 applicants, right? So they're going through 200 CVs. They will want the easiest reads, the ones that show personality. You know, your overall kind of career is very, very interesting because you've had a big career before getting into tech, right? Which that gives you the edge over a lot of other junior developers. The other junior developers, they've come straight out of university. 99% of them are doing it for the money because they know there's a lot of money in tech. So they don't have any real world life experience like you do. So that first off gives you the edge. But obviously their CVs are going to be slightly neater, slightly more kind of personable, which I think you need to have that personable options within there pretty much. So yeah, I mean, I would say kind of just use a different style with your CV just to make it easier to read. After this, I mean, when you do update your CV, you're more than welcome to share it over to me and I'll have another look and kind of give you a thumbs up, thumbs down. And I know I'm being overly critical, but I'm doing it with your best interest at heart, right? But do you agree with what I'm saying, or do you have any kind of feedback with that, or?
Yeah, sure. It's very good for me. I want to learn as much as I want to hear as much as you can, and for my CV, it's very good. And it's no problem for me. You are right. It should be more readable. And I tried in another format. I will share from chat. Maybe I don't know if it is good or not. I want to take your idea also for this this document.
Any other formats you have, by all means, you share them. And I'm more, as I said, I'm more than happy to look at them and kind of give you the thumbs up and stuff. And the other thing that might be worth including. So a lot of, as I mentioned, like a lot of these junior developers, they're going to be just coming straight out of university, right? Now, another key thing to show your passion. First off, they will be interested in why you've turned and you're looking at this this new kind of industry and this new role where you've had such success as a program coordinator before. But what I would say to again help you out to show your passion, maybe put some I can see on your GitHub that you've got some kind of entries in there and repositories. So if you have any projects in there that you think, actually, I've really enjoyed doing that, that looks really good. Maybe when you, under your front-end developer, carry that on a little bit and say, projects includes this, and then put a link to it. Because again, that means a hiring manager can click on your GitHub. I know it's at the top, but to be honest, they won't click that bit at the top. They're more likely to click it if you put a project in there that you're happy with, that you're proud with, and they can click it and look at the code there, which is quite a good example. Let me just look at this code. So I'm just downloading your new CV now, just to have a quick look for you. Let's have a look at this format. Okay. That doesn't really give a lot of information. I mean, I like the difference in it.
Yeah, this is just a format, and I should develop it because it doesn't include my whole career path there. It is just a front-end idea, but for the past experience, it's not included. So I will include it if the format is good, or is it non-formal? What's your idea? Yeah.
I would say what you need is kind of a mixture between the both. Yeah, ultimately I like the way it is, and it shows more of you and who you are and your personality, but it's not as kind of formal as a CV needs to be. So ultimately use that but include, obviously, you want to include your past roles, because that's going to be super important, and that's going to give you that slight edge over these 19-year-olds who's just come out of university, who's just trying to get a first job, right? So I do like it, but it doesn't give too much information. It's not as formal as a CV should be, but it is a good kind of point to say, okay, I can use this and make that CV there. I can see, I can probably show you maybe an example of some CVs that I've seen.
I would like to ask at this point, when you are looking at this, I have nearly 15 years experience as a project officer and then project manager in international institutions, including international institutions. And now we are looking at job from the beginning, actually. And
Yeah.
even if a junior, I will be starting as a front-end developer. So is it good for me to include all of this project management experience, etc., or
currently, yes. Currently, yes. I've just shared a CV of a front-end developer that I know in Sweden, that you can have a look and read through that. That is quite similar. That's the kind of quality or the layout you can have. But I would say, yes, include your work history. Once you become more developed, and let's say you've got 5-6 years as a developer, then you can get rid of that because that's irrelevant, right? But at the moment, it is relevant because it shows, it gives you that edge. It shows that you've had a career beforehand. It shows you have experience in the world of work as such. And again, you know, it shows obviously that you're not kind of in tech for the money. Obviously, if you're just looking for money, you just do what you're doing now. You'd be a program coordinator, because ultimately you're starting again. But so a lot of companies will like the fact that you've got the passion to change careers, and that will give you the edge. That's only going to make it positive when you're doing these interviews. They will ask why you've gone into tech and why you switched careers, but ultimately you're going to have a much better answer than someone who's just come from university, who's studied it and wants to get into tech. Because mainly especially the younger people, they are going into tech for the money, because there is a lot of money to be made once you're experienced enough. But yeah, definitely include it, because it's an interesting talking point as well, and it does differ from you. So yeah, moving forward from your CV, obviously once you've done it, within a week, 2 weeks, whatever, send it to me. I'll have a look. I'm more than happy, and I can give you some more hints and tips if needed. But moving forward, let's have a look. So you focus on React, right? Yeah. So yes. I'm going to ask you a couple of interview questions just to kind of see how you react and stuff like that. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a developer, but I have tools and I know enough to have the correct answers and stuff. But this isn't more about you knowing it as such. It's more about how you answer. So what is React.js?
React.js is a tool that we use to implement JavaScript codes. It helps us to actively use JavaScript codes with its tools. And okay. Yes, it's...
Yeah, okay. Do you know who it was developed by?
No.
No? Okay. So in terms of that, is you want to that's kind of probably the most basic question you're going to have. They will probably want to know who it was developed by. So developed by Facebook in 2011. Just what I would do, brush it up and make it easier when you're saying it. So React.js is a front-end JavaScript library for building web and mobile user interfaces. Developed by Facebook in 2011. React allows developers to build reusable UI components, and it can support a large and open source community, things like that. So I have, I can send you this link in a second, which I use, and ultimately it's kind of an interview questions for React.js, for example. Now, it sounds silly, but go for it and refine some answers, because you're probably going to get that question, what is React.js, a lot. So yeah, let's kind of ask in another. So what are React events?
React events. I don't know.
No? Okay, cool. So React events are reactions. So the library is called React, right? So they're triggered by specific user actions, like clicking a UI button, hovering over a mouse. So like a React event is basically what happens to your screen when you're using it, essentially. For example, if you move your mouse on Zoom, you will see the bottom screen come up with all the options. If you move it off, then it'll go away, for example. But let me send you that link, and it's not more for your knowledge, it's more for how to answer certain questions that they throw at you, because they, you know, no matter how senior you are, senior React developers still get asked, what is React, right? So that is something that you will, more interviews you have, the more you can brush up on it. What you did in the second bit, so that was actually really good, where you said you don't know. A lot of people in interviews are afraid to say that. That is completely fine. The hiring manager who's interviewing you will respect you a lot more if you're honest and you say, look, I don't know. Ultimately, that will kind of put you above people who try to blag it, as I say. Do you know what the term blag it means?
Like digging, something
like blag it. So blag it is where you basically just try and come up with any random stuff to give them, and usually they're wrong. So if you don't know it, just be open and honest, and hiring managers respect that a lot more. The other thing that in terms of interviews that is key, if you get asked a question and say you need a couple of seconds to answer, it's fine to kind of take a breath, you know, give yourself 4, 5, 6 seconds and then answer while you're thinking. Hiring managers are not going to care. You don't need to shoot out the blocks. And again, it's a key interview skill, where obviously when you're going for a job that you really, really want, you are nervous, right? But with that nerves, a lot of people in interviews, they will literally, as soon as the question's finished being asked, they will try to answer. Don't do that. Give yourself a couple of seconds in between each question. That is ultimately gonna calm you a little bit and make your answer very precise, I would say. In terms of kind of some useful tips that I have, which you're probably the first junior developer, and this is basically because of your career path beforehand. The first note I have on that I give everyone is to take notes during interviews. You're the first one that's been doing it. I can see that you're writing down notes. That is essential, because ultimately, first off, you got notes with this conversation. Every interview you have, write notes. You know, if they tell you the team size is 10, write that down, because that's going to help you in the future. If they tell you details about the project, write that down, because that will help you out in the future. So always write notes, especially in the world we live in now. Most interviews are done online, which is, it's a lot easier to make notes. And it's also a lot easier to have notes, you know, plastered to the side of you out of screenshot that you can kind of look over now and again to help you answer. So, for example, if you have, you know, the link I've just shared over to you, that interview skills and answers, you can write notes, because it's all online. You can write notes on how to answer what is React, put that down, put it on a piece of paper next to you, and that's going to ultimately help you. Put bullet points on there. You know, because ultimately, Just use every single thing you can. Secondly, ask for feedback. Now, not straight away, but don't be afraid if you haven't heard off someone in a week, whether it's a recruiter or a hiring manager. Don't be afraid to email them, message them and say, hi, I had an interview last week. I'm just hoping, is there any feedback for me? Now, I'm a recruiter, right? So I deal with multiple candidates, multiple roles, multiple companies. I do forget, and hiring managers do forget. I could have feedback for someone and I could forget to actually call them up and give it to them, or book them in for the next one. A lot of people, we're people at the end of the day. So sometimes I will get prompts from candidates saying, oh, hi, did you have any feedback? That will prompt me to go, oh, yes, I did, and then give them the feedback, right? So ultimately, if they don't have any feedback, they'll just tell you, but you're also prompting them to look into it and make sure, and to try and get you feedback as well. And ultimately, again, it shows your commitment and your keenness for the role. And I'll be honest, there's a lot of companies you won't ever get feedback from. You will do an interview, you will send a CV, and you will get ghosted. That happens. I get ghosted all the time. It happens. That's the kind of world we live in, especially with everything online. Don't let it dishearten you. Just move on to the next one. Ultimately, I would also say, when you do apply for jobs, obviously, looking at the job description, don't take that by heart. I speak to hiring managers all the time, right? And on the job descriptions, they might have, I call them kids in sweet shops. So they have 10 things that they've listed, 10 technologies, 10 things they want. And then when I actually get them on the phone and say, look, I want to help you find these guys, what do you actually want? They'll tell me 3. So out of the 10 things they listed, they only want 3 of them. So if you're reading job descriptions and you say, well, I haven't got that, but I do have these, apply anyway. What have you got to lose, right? That's another key thing. So, if you don't feel like you make the cut, apply anyway. And sometimes some companies will look at your profile and say, look, he's maybe not right for this role, but we might have something else for him. Let's interview him for that. They're the really good companies. I love working with them companies because they're very open and honest with this. Again, in my notes, so communication is very important. Communicate with clarity and precision. Admit when you don't know something, which you've already done, so that's great. And then make sure to ask relevant questions, okay? And what I mean by this, in your first interview, when is your time to ask questions? First off, always ask questions. Never say, no, that's fine, you've explained it. Always find something. But never, in the first few stages, don't ask about the salary directly to the hiring manager. Don't ask about the holiday pay. Don't ask about whether it's hybrid or remote or in office, or the equipment. Do you get a MacBook? Do you get Windows? Don't ask about that, because that shows that you're not as interested in the tech. It shows you're more interested in the benefits, which is all, everyone knows you're interested in that. But that is a question that you ask further down the line. When you ask the questions, you want to know how big the team size is. What's the project they're working on? How long have they been working on the project? Where's the company vision within the next 3, 4, 5 years? They're the questions that you want to know, ultimately. And they're the questions you want to ask. And again, that's going to show how interested you are in that position as opposed to everything else. Did you have a question there? Sorry.
No, yes. Then I will ask questions about the job, as you said. Just a question: to reach the hiring managers or the HR is not possible because they are not sharing generally their emails. To remind them how to reach them from LinkedIn or How? What do you suggest?
Any way, shape, or form. LinkedIn, I'm connected with over 7,000 people on LinkedIn, and use LinkedIn as your, a good companion. Connect with the hiring managers after an interview. Connect with the HR people. You will have an email of whoever sent you the meeting invite, which will usually be the hiring manager. So you will have that email with that anyway. Obviously, on the job descriptions, usually you have like the HR, but when you get the interview, you have the hiring manager as well on that email. They're quite easy to find when if, for example, if their HR rep is luke.udemig@x.com, usually it will be the name with a dot in the middle and then at the company name.com. So they're quite easy to find. LinkedIn is a very important tool. I'm glad you brought it up. So I'm not too sure how active you are there on LinkedIn at the moment, but the whole community, especially in the tech world, everyone wants to help everyone. So connect with as many front-end developers as you can, junior, mid, senior, engineering managers. Look at Mehmet. Of course, he has such a big connection list, and he wants to help people as much as he can. And he's been like that before, Udemy and all that. Everyone in the tech community is very similar. They want to help everyone else. So don't be afraid to connect with other people, reach out. There are community groups of just front-end developers. And there'll be really interesting things in there. So please just don't be afraid to just reach out to people, ask them questions. If you're connected with an engineering manager for a company, message them and say, hi, have you got any advice? I'm looking for my first role as a React developer. Would you have any advice on this or this or this? 9 times, they might ignore you because they might be busy, but usually they'll probably come back and give you some helpful advice. The tech community is very different from other communities. You look at like the banking industry, they don't have communities like that. They don't really care for the other people, but developers, they just want everyone to do well. They care for the tech and they know tech is the future. So don't be afraid to just reach out and make new friends there. But yeah, I've done a lot of talking, and I know you've got a lot of notes and stuff, but yeah, we've got probably 5 minutes or so left. So what kind of questions do you have for me that you really want to know?
I want to ask that I have worked as a project manager in refugee crisis or in development area. Is it possible to use this as a project management expertise or as a project manager in this technical area, as a front-end developer, manager, etc.? And is it possible to combine them in the near future or now or later? I don't know.
In the future, yes. Now, probably not. And the reason why, so they do have like project managers in certain companies and stuff. But 9 times out of 10, they're more like the bridge between all the teams, like the spider in the web. But if you did that now, you wouldn't be coding. You wouldn't be doing what you want to do, essentially. So everything that you have done in terms of the program and project coordinators, you can use that with your new roles. And obviously, the further up, when you become mid and senior and stuff, all the kind of coordination and management roles you've had, that's going to put you in favor when you're, maybe 4, 5, 6 years down the line, when you're looking to become an engineering manager or a tech lead or something like that. Right now, you probably can't put it all in one. So just focus on the React developer role.
Okay. Will there be any problem from the English from my side? What do you think?
English is the you know, the tech language as such. Most companies are English. Now, you're probably going to find a job in Turkey first off, because usually junior developers, they can't really relocate. I mean, they could, but no company is going to help because there's so many of them. So what I would say, I mean, your English is pretty good now, but obviously if you ever want to relocate, you know, that'll be 3-4 years down the line, right? So yeah, I mean, there's lots of things you can do to help with your English. Have more English conversations. I'm more than happy if you ever just want to have a call with me to just chat about anything just to help your English. You're more than welcome to. Again, I have a friend, a Polish friend, who she learned English from watching Netflix. She watched Friends, the American TV show. That's how she learned English. She just put the subtitles on so she could understand. But obviously, your English is very good. But if you're watching kind of English-speaking TV programs, that's going to make it a lot easier for you, and it'll come naturally there. But yeah, I mean, of course, you'll probably be in a Turkish company first off, where it'll be mixed between English and Turkish anyway. But yeah, you got years and years before you need to be as fluent as me, to be honest.
Isn't it possible to find a remote job for juniors in Europe, in any country?
It is, but it's very, very difficult. The problem you have, so for example, if I take a company in Sweden, which is where I predominantly work. So if I take a company from there, they will ultimately, why would they want to relocate you? With, you know, you're a junior. Why would they relocate you when there's 2,000 junior developers just finishing university? You know, they have a pick of all them people. So why would they relocate? That's why it's quite difficult to do it. I mean, there are jobs out there to look into and see, but the reality is, it's quite difficult to do it. You might find a remote role for now where you can potentially relocate, but look into it. But it is fairly difficult just because there's so many junior devs on the market.
Aren't they working remote? Are they going to office after COVID crisis? Did they start to go to office now?
It's a lot more flexible now. It depends on the company. I don't know any company that is fully on site. Most companies I speak to and work with, they're hybrid. Some are fully remote, but most of the time they will probably want you on site maybe once or twice a week, depending on the position. As a junior, you want to be on site. You want to be around other developers because that's essentially how you're going to learn. Where, you know, if you're working remotely, that's all well and good. But as a junior dev, you want to be bouncing off other people and learning off other people. Probably similar to your, you know, when you started, you know, in project coordination, it helped bouncing off other people, right?
Thank you.
Anything else at all?
Not now. I will revise the CV. I took my notes and I will revise accordingly and we'll share them later with you.
Amazing.
Thank you for your
well,
advice.
If you need anything at all, I'm on Slack. You can contact me and I'll help you out. But yeah, if you do get into interview processes, let me know. I can help with that as well, okay? But real pleasure meeting you. And yeah, stay in touch, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice
Speak
day.
soon, okay? Bye now.
Bye.